Today I want to talk a little bit about racial justice. Now, it probably goes without saying that I don't have a first-hand perspective on this topic. I mean, look at me. I practically need sunscreen for the ring light I use to film these things, so I'm not going to pretend otherwise. In fact, my lack of first-hand perspective is exactly the reality I want to speak to first, because I know a heck of a lot of people who are in this same white boat with me. I'm a straight white guy, the epitome of something called privilege. This basically means I get advantages others don't, simply because of how I look. From a language perspective, privilege is a word that's been around a long time, like 12th century long, and it originally pertained to laws that were made in favor of certain individuals. Well, so in that way, not much has changed in a very long time. And I think one of the reasons this change is so slow and so difficult has to do with something I've talked a lot about in the past: invisible things. I want to suggest that this is a big part of what privilege is. It's invisible. Those of us who have it don't actually see that we do, and this makes it hard to change. The word privilege actually shares some language roots with the word private, and I don't think we, the people who look like me, have taken this hidden quality into account nearly enough, at least not here. Intellectually, we may grasp the concept, but do we get it here? I'm not sure enough of us do, yet. Okay, so maybe we accept that there's a hidden element to privilege that's difficult to notice, but that doesn't mean it's impossible to see. And this is where privilege is similar to many other invisible things. Once we realize its invisibility, we can start looking for it in a slightly different way. We don't try to look for it directly, but instead we looked for the impact of it. For example, I think privilege is a bit like the wind. We don't see it directly, but when we look for its impact, we see that the effects of it are absolutely everywhere. This perspective has really helped me to understand my own privilege. When I don't look for it directly, but instead search for the impact, I can more clearly see the elevation kind of impact my privilege has had on me. And sadly, it's probably even easier to see how my privilege has been connected to the subjugation of others. Because far too many times, in our zero-sum way of thinking about life, we've put these things together. This idea that for me to go up, you must have to go down. This way of thinking is, in itself, terribly, deeply flawed, but it's an approach that's been applied to many parts of life for a very long time. A couple of nights ago, I watched an online concert put on by one of my absolute favorite musicians, Brandi Carlile. Between songs, she talked a little bit about the LGBTQ movement and said that though there was, of course, great work being done by activists in the LGBTQ community for many years, not enough changed in the system until straight people got involved and fought alongside them. This makes me think that it's time for a lot more people with my skin color to do whatever we can to help with racial justice in this moment. Of course, I didn't choose my skin color any more than George Floyd did. And in this way, the topic of racial justice feels similar to orientation. We love who we love. We are who we are. It's asinine and absurd that we should treat our fellow humans as anything other than equal for something we just are. And then we've gone and made it even worse, because we've literally codified privilege for some and inaccessibility for others directly into our systems. Things like housing, education, incarceration, and probably many others I'm not thinking clearly enough to remember right now, have been infiltrated by this toxic and literally deadly injustice. At one level, I suppose we shouldn't really expect anything else from a country whose founders were somehow able to navigate the frankly insane psychological dissonance of holding life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in one hand, while also clinging to slavery with the other. Our history is inequity. Our history is inequality. This is something we need to look squarely in the face and deal with. So, where do we go from here? In our work, we talk a lot about the notions of me and we. I think both of these apply here. From the me perspective, as individuals, people who look like I do, we simply must learn how to see the impact of our privilege has lifted us up while at the same time kept others down. We need to see it and we need to own it as the truth of what's happening. This awakening won't happen overnight, but my hope is that perhaps this fresh perspective on privilege can help you like it's helped me. Then, from a we perspective, we must also fix our systems. This won't happen overnight either, but I suspect, as we've seen with other movements, systemic change can happen more quickly than we think when enough of us get involved and try to help. So, for all of you who watched this video, I want to close by asking your forgiveness. If my privilege has in any way kept someone else down while it's lifted me up, I'm sorry. Also, it's quite likely I messed up some of my words here, or left something out, or didn't say the right thing. Maybe I even flat out offended you. If that's the case, I'm sorry for that too. And at this moment, it frankly seemed more important that I say something, to try my best in my own awkward way, to let you know that while I don't know exactly what to do, or what to say, or how I can even best help, I am here and I am with you. On behalf of people who have privilege, I want you to know I see mine, and I will do whatever I can to keep listening, keep learning, and to make a positive impact to change things in my sphere of influence. If you are a human being, I am on your team. And for whatever it's worth, I personally won't be satisfied until all of us are seen as equals, and until our systems provide us all with equality as well. Sending you my love. See you next time.